Get all the news and controversy of the NFL right here on the Blitz Zone with your hosts, Eric Rosen and Jamie Hickson, as they discuss the hot topics concerning your favorite players and team, the winners, the losers, the big plays, and the big hits from around the league. Right here, only on the Blitz Zone.
It's Friday, October 6, 2017. It's that time of the hour for your favorite NFL and college football program. Welcome to Week 5 of the Blitz Zone. Hi, everybody. My name is Eric Rosen, and we're coming to you live from the studios of CTV in Staten Island, New York. And with me, as always, is my main man, partner in crime, Mr. Jamie the Sportsman Hickson.
Well, you call me the partner in crime. I think what's been going on with the Giants lately has been a complete and utter crime. 4 games, 4 losses, and it doesn't look like I don't see any improvement with them whatsoever. And whereas other teams in other cities are off to really good starts and they're able to please their fan bases, the New York football fan over here is either really, really passive or just really, really infuriated right now, or doesn't even care.
What's crazy, you mentioned that the first month of the season actually just has gone by. Besides New York teams, what team has actually surprised you the most in this first month of this young season?
Aside from the Jets being a 500 team right now, obviously the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, who saw them have the start that they would have, especially with Jared Goff, who had major problems as a rookie last season. He seems to have done a complete change and turnaround in just his second season. And, of course, it helps that he's got a really good running game and a really good pair of receivers to work with now, a better pair of receivers to work with now. And also the defense has really been outstanding for them. And they got, so far, that one big win for them, and that's against the Cowboys. Now they have a division rival, the Seahawks. This is their signature moment. This could determine their season right here.
I think the team that surprised me, and I think you would agree with this too, in the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. Again, like the Rams, who would have thought they would be 3-1, leading their division right now after a full month of the season? And it's really yes, you have Tyrod Taylor. He's made some good plays here and there, but it's honestly the defense that has been the catalyst behind this 3-1 start, especially the fact for the first 3 games, they gave up no passing touchdowns. They gave up little passing touchdowns. They lead the league in overall defense. Their third down defense is outstanding. They were basically a touchdown shy of being the second undefeated team left in football. Had not been for week 2 against Carolina, they would have they would be undefeated right now. So,
and if you ask LaShawn McCoy, everybody has been picking them to lose each of the first, or better yet, each of the last 3 weeks of the season. And now it's time for the media to start talking to the winners. So far, so good for the Bills, but this is only the first quarter of the season that's been completed. There's another 3 quarters, 12 games to go. And the Bills still have some really important games coming up.
Oh, without a doubt, especially even though it's Cincinnati, but Cincinnati, they're not going to be pushovers in the jungle this week. And then you look at some of the teams we have 4 0-4 teams now. Of the 4 teams, we have the 2 of them playing this week, the Chargers and the Giants. Then you got the 49ers right there. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, the 49ers and another team that's eluding me at the moment that's 0-4. But do you think the Giants can finally pull out this 0-4 funk that they're in, especially this week?
Possibly. Quite possibly. Because going up against, Cleveland has 0 shot to do anything constructive this year. But I will say this. They're hosting the Jets this weekend, and that is a classic trap game. After coming off a big win the weekend before, who's to say that the Jets are not going to go into this game a little overconfident? They need to do exactly what they've been doing for the last 2 games, and that's run the football. There's a reason why guys like Bilal Powell have had really solid games. And to think, they've been doing this without Matt Forte.
Yep. And what about some of the big injuries we saw, unfortunately, especially last week? We saw Dalvin Cook tears ACL. We saw
That's
Derek Carr.
That's a critical loss for Minnesota. Whatever hopes that they had this year just went down with Dalvin Cook once he blew out his knee.
Yeah, this the second big offense player, Sam Bradford being out the last 3 weeks, and now you lose Dalvin Cook, who up until last week was their stalwart in their prototypical 3-down back. Now they have to rely on Latavius Murray, who's coming off ankle surgery, to be the number 1 running back. And then the big injury in Oakland, Derek Carr had a back injury. He's out 2 to 6 weeks. So it's EJ Manuel who has to be under center. And you saw last week, when he came into the game, last week against Denver, and they lost 16-10. He threw a big interception to Justin Simmons, and they lost 16. Yep, they lost 16-10.
There's a reason why he got shown his walking papers by Buffalo, because EJ Manuel is not that good. And you mentioned that Carr is going to be out between 2 and 6 weeks. The game coming up, this is going to be 2 weeks that he's going to be out. Now, are the Raiders going to be desperate and try to rush this kid back into the lineup, or are they going to take their time with him and let him wait it out at least another week or two?
I think it depends on the injury right now. So I think they're going to, because, again, last season, remember, he had a terrible foot injury, and because of that, the Raiders ended up losing in the playoffs to the Texans. Because who do you had to go to to Matt McGloin. Mm-hmm. That's not your start. Yeah, then he got injured, actually, McGloin, the final week. Then they had to go to their third-string quarterback. So when Derek Carr goes down, this Raiders offense, I think, follows him.
Yeah. Once he goes down, that means that they have to try and pound it a little bit more with Marshawn Lynch, because, quite frankly, EJ Manuel is complete garbage.
And I just heard this past week, Brandon Weeden got signed by the Titans.
Oh, brother.
After last week, the Texans had a stunning victory, and there were only 2 touchdowns Titans got, both by Marcus Mariota on the ground, and he hurt his back, and they had to bring in Matt Castle, of course, is a turnover waiting to happen. Now they signed Brandon Weeden to be the third string. There's a guy named, I don't know if you heard of it, Tennessee.
Does the name Colin Kaepernick ring a bell?
Exactly.
When are they going to stop with this constant blackballing of this young man? He's only trying to get a job now.
I know.
And they're still holding his political beliefs against him. Criminal.
I know. Believe me. He's 10 times. There are so many of the quarterbacks. And finally, we're going to see a big debut coming up this week. Mitchell Trubisky.
Yep.
About damn time the kid gets a try, because look what Mike Glennon has done. Anyway, with some news that took place this week, a little bit of controversy, besides the one that we talked about last week, which I'm going to avoid right now because it's a bit of a a
hot button issue? Yeah, it is.
It is. And believe me, right now, there's another one, too. It may not be as hot button of an issue, but it deserves some attention, what Cam Newton in his press conference this week with the female reporter.
Is it me, or does this guy still not get it? This only proves one thing. There is still no respect for any of the female reporters or sportscasters that are in this business right now. Cam Newton is just the latest example of this constant hostility against female reporters, and quite frankly, I just don't get why.
I've had it up to here with this BS that women are being treated like this. These are professional individuals who are only doing their job like anybody else. And the fact that Cam Newton was laughing at the Charlotte Observer reporter, Jordan Rodriguez, who's the beat writer for the Carolina Panthers for the Charlotte Observer, when she was talking about the routes. Because last week, the Panthers went to New England. They won 33-30. Devin Funchess, the second-year wide receiver out of Michigan, had 2 touchdowns in that performance. Critical touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And she was asking about the routes that he was running, and Cam Newton said, "Oh, it's kind of," and I quote, I think it's funny, to hear a female reporter ask questions about routes. Why is it funny? She wasn't making a joke. She was actually asking what any sports reporter would be asking, doing her job. And because of this, he lost his endorsement deal with Dan Yogurt's Oikos brand that he advertised a lot, and he deserved it, quite frankly. At first, his management team tried to say, "Oh, that's not the case," and plus, Dan would be in breach of contract. No, they actually wouldn't be in breach of contract, because they're not going to do business with a guy who makes comments about women like that. It's bad. It's not only publicly bad, to support a guy like that, it's just bad for business for Dan. So they had to cut ties with him. And honestly, they did the right thing in that. And I'm hoping that Cam learns from this going forward, because in the past he's had issues with maturity when it comes to him in the press.
He's also had maturity issues when it comes to his teammates as well. He's long had the reputation for being a real sourpuss in the locker room. And after this ridiculousness, this only shows that he's got a ton of growing up to do. You know, he's approaching 30 years of age, and he's still behaving like a little brat.
Well, hopefully he'll grow up. I'm hoping Odell Beckham will grow up at some point, too.
Why do I get the feeling that some leopards just never change their spots?
But how about this for a really good, feel-good story? Did you hear what happened at Clemson University this past week? A kid basically got into a car accident just a few hundred feet away from the practice facility, and players, coaches, stopped their practice to save this kid. The collision occurred on Perimeter Road, which is near the Clemson Tigers practice field. And the kid slid about 100 feet down the embankment along the side of the road near the Seneca River, which is right near where they practice in South Carolina. So I'm glad this freshman, Clary Miles, who actually is classmates with Dabo Swinney's son, was saved and all that. And he works with the team, helps them every way he can. He's a student worker at Clemson's football offices.
Yep.
So it was a great story to hear. It's something that I think got lost along the way during the week, but a good feel-good story for everything that's happened so far. Right now, and of course, not to be insensitive and not to be a jerk and not forget this as well, but my thoughts, my prayers are with the people and the citizens of Las Vegas, Nevada, the bright lights in the big city. Unfortunately, we lost 59 souls this past weekend, and the injury of 500 because of the lunacy of one individual who decided to take these people's lives for whatever reason that we still have no idea of which. But the hard work and dedication of the Las Vegas County Clerk's Office, the FBI, the ATF, and just citizens around this country to help these people get through one of the darkest moments in U.S. history. It's just outstanding. To see, through the darkness, there is some light that is coming up. And these people, their souls, their lives will never be forgotten. Just my thoughts are with those people and their families and their friends.
I've come to learn quite a few things about what's been going on with our country in the last year or two. There are two kinds of terrorism in this world. The terrorism that's being caused by radical groups from a third world terrorist country against a country that is trying to glorify democracy and freedom. And then there's the domestic kind of terrorism. This lunatic killed 59 innocent people who had nothing to do with any of his issues. This was a blatant act of domestic terrorism. If this doesn't show that we need more strict gun laws in this country, then I don't know what will. I don't know what else to say about this. All I know is this only infuriates me even more. We need more, that it has to take more sacrificial lambs to try and get a point across.
Well, you know what? As they say in life, the show must go on, and so must we. And let's get into some football. This past week, the week that was week 4 in the NFL, the 49ers visiting the Arizona Cardinals, and it was tied 12-all going to overtime, and it took a 19-yard pass from Carson Palmer to Larry Fitzgerald with 32 ticks to go in the clock. The Cardinals win 18-15. Huge victory.
Well, let me tell you, the more the 49ers keep losing, the more I'm starting to see either Josh Rosen or Sam Darnold look really good in a 49er uniform, because this only leads to my question. How's that Brian Hoyer experiment working out for them? You cannot win games by scoring 12 points by having Brian Hoyer as your quarterback. It's not going to get it done at all.
And the fact you had 9 combined field goals, over nearly 200 yards combined penalties from both teams. This was a lackluster game. The only touchdown came on that Fitzgerald play, and Larry Fitzgerald has found the fountain of youth. Always. He's a consummate professional. Now, the Buffalo Bills, Atlanta Falcons, all it took was 3 turnovers by Matt Ryan to a big third quarter fumble recovery by Tre'Davious White and 2 interceptions by Micah Hyde, and the Buffalo Bills beat the Atlanta Falcons 23-17 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
What a critical win for Buffalo. I'm curious to know what this last 3 quarters of the year holds for them, though. Let's see what they can do with Tyrod Taylor still calling us the snaps from center.
And it was a better performance from LaShawn McCoy this week than we've seen the last 2 weeks. So right there, he's starting to get his rhythm back. Things are moving the right direction. Now the Baltimore Ravens, talk about things going badly. They win the first 2 weeks with good defense. They've lost the last 2 weeks with bad defense and missing key defensive players, including this past week against the Steelers, losing 26-9. Being held to less than 300 yards, and Joe Flacco, for the 10th straight game, throws an interception.
I don't know about you, but it's a little frightening seeing Joe Flacco regress the way he has in what is now his 10th NFL season. Is it safe to say that maybe he's approaching the twilight of his career? Because 10 straight games with 1 turnover, he's not that bad. Well, I know for a fact he's not that bad.
And not only that, you lost key pieces like Brandon Williams, another player in their linebacking core. You lost Marshall Yanda to a season-ending leg injury, which hurts you on the left side. That's why he got sacked about 4 times and hit nearly at 10 times, I believe, in this game. And the only offense they have is this guy Collins at the running back position, who had 82 yards, probably the most for any running back the Ravens have. But the Steelers, Le'Veon Bell, it was his performance, 180 over 144 rushing yards, 42 passing yards, receiving yards. Great performance on him. And Tony Brown was a little pissed that he didn't get involved in the party, but maybe this week he'll be getting involved.
He should be a little bit more grateful that his team got him a victory than anything else.
And I mentioned earlier, Devin Funchess 2 touchdowns on the day, and Cam Newton getting 4 touchdowns himself, including a rushing score, and the Panthers beat the Patriots 33-30. The fact is the Patriots were down by a couple of scores, and they came back, especially on 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. Brady throws a pass to Danny Amendola to tie the game up, but stupid penalties by the defense set up Carolina for the 48-yard field goal by Graham Gano. They win 33-30, the Panthers.
Yeah, that's strictly on the defensive secondary of the Patriots. Way too many mistakes being made here.
At least they had a better performance last time. We'll get into that in a bit.
Unless you, if you talk to Devin McCourty, he'll point the finger at his teammates in that secondary.
Well, that defense together has given up over 400 yards and 31 points. You can't expect Brady to keep making up for those points every single week. That's just impossible, especially without Edelman. And even last night, they had to go without Gronkowski. That's 2 of your big pieces on offense right there. But thank God for Hogan and Amendola and the running game. Now, the Bengals beat the punching bag of the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, 31-7.
And once again, why did the Browns lose? Because the rookie Deshaun Kaiser kept making rookie mistakes.
Yep, he turns the ball over. He now has 8 interceptions in his young career already. Duke Johnson was the only bit of offense they had going this week, and 13 overall touches, 9 carries, 4 receptions. They need to get this guy involved more in the offense.
I've seen Duke Johnson play before with the University of Miami. The kid is an intriguing prospect. And is it as easy as them pounding the ball with him for the Browns to have any type of success? Or does it take a little bit more than that? Because it seems to me like Deshaun Kaiser really needs to start looking at the field with a little bit more decisiveness and precision.
He also has to get the ball out of his hands. That's the problem with him. He has zero football awareness whatsoever in the pocket. And he really needs to be able to throw the ball away when there's no play. It's another problem. And the turnovers, again, 8 interceptions. 5 total touchdowns, though. But still, the 8 picks, not cool in my book. Yeah. Now, the Rams, they were down 24-16 at Jerry World at the half. They were held to 131 yards. All of a sudden, they flip a switch in the second half, and not only did they have 281 yards in the second half, but they outscore the Cowboys 36-3, and the Rams end up winning 35-30 with a 214 total yard performance from Todd Gurley, including the go-ahead 53-yard catch and run. The Rams beat the Cowboys 35-30. And two mistakes by the Cowboys. They had the 2-point conversion pass that Terrence Williams dropped, and the 1-yard plunge run that didn't count for Ezekiel Elliott.
Is this a pattern that we might be seeing from the Rams offense right now? Because out of their 3 wins, actually, in their 3 wins, they've scored 46, 41, and now 35. There is some potential for this Rams team to really light up the scoreboard in the last 3 quarters of the season. But whatever they're doing, just keep on doing it because it's working for them.
And how about the 7 field goals by Greg the Leg Zuerlein? A career high for him, too. That's why he's called Greg the Leg. And Johnny Hekker also is great on special teams, too. The two of them are probably the best special teams combination in the NFL. That's another reason why the Rams have won. Their special teams along with their offense, everything is clicking on all cylinders. You got to give credit to Sean McVay, the job he's doing first year. And as for the Cowboys, they need to do better. Now, the Broncos, as I mentioned, defeated the Raiders 16-10. The unfortunate injury of Derek Carr to a back injury in the third quarter. Justin Simmons with the game-sealing interception off of E.J. Manuel. Doesn't boast well. And by the way, Marshawn Lynch was held to 9 yards on 9 carries at 12 yards.
Yeah, that's not a way to try and win a game. I mean, we know that he didn't do so well, but they need to give him more than 9 carries in a single game. He needs to get at least 15 to 20 touches if the Raiders are going to do anything now that E.J. Manuel.
I know.
E.J. Manuel. My goodness.
You want a barf bag right now or later?
I think I'm going to have to save that until I try to see that Jets-Browns game this weekend because that could get really ugly. Or Giants versus Chargers. Oh, brother.
I know. Believe me, it makes me want to puke in my soup dish to see the way that the Giants have played, but I'll get into them in a bit. Now, as for the Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings, a low-scoring defensive battle in the NFC North right here. Anthony Zettel had the defensive performance of the week for this Lions defense. 2 sacks, 4 hurries, a fumble recovery, and the Lions forced 3 turnovers to hold the Minnesota Vikings scoreless in the second half. The Lions beat the Vikings 14-7. Those turnovers turned into 11 points for the Lions. Stafford was pitiful on the day. He was sacked 6 times for 55 yards. But yet, he had a key 2-point conversion to T.J. Jones that gave the Lions that decisive 7-point lead. So, for the Vikings, this is really, the fact that, unfortunately, Dalvin Cook tore his ACL in that game. Now it's coming, Latavius Murray, who I actually have in my fantasy team, he's going to be the number 1 running back. So,
plain and simple, the Vikings are in trouble.
Yeah.
Not only are they down 2 quarterbacks, they're down the guy who was supposed to be Adrian Peterson's replacement in the backfield. Dare I say 6-10 or 5-11 season for the Vikes now?
It's still early to say anything. Let's see what happens this coming Monday night when they got to play the Bears. And then you got the game, probably the highest scoring points of the week. The Houston Texans, a franchise record 57 points, and they beat the Tennessee Titans 57-14 in the battle of the AFC South teams. The Texans, the team that has won back-to-back. And who was the superstar offensive player of the week for the AFC? Deshaun Watson.
I'm telling you, don't sleep on that kid. Not only is he a kid with terrific athletic ability,
he's got a heart
and potential. Yeah, the kid has major heart. Do you realize that there are already people that are calling this kid a flash in the pan after 1 or 2 games?
These people should bite their tongue. Not only is he a great football player, but he's an amazing human being. Did you see what he did for his first NFL paycheck? He gave his first NFL paycheck to some of the women who work for the Texans organization who lost a lot of their possessions during Hurricane Harvey.
That's a real man right there. Or as I like to call him,
a mensch.
The anti-Cam Newton.
Without a doubt. You know, that to me is he's a man's man, and he carries his team on his shoulders, and he works his ass off. I'm sorry, I said the word ass, but he does. Every single play, you see him on the ground, the way he throws the ball, and the fact that Will Fuller made his return with the neck injury he had earlier this year, huge, because it takes a lot of the pressure off of DeAndre Hopkins. So if you're a defensive coordinator, you got to face the Texans. You got to worry not only about DeAndre Hopkins, but you got to worry about you got to worry about you got to worry about both of them, Hopkins and Fuller. So this is really an outstanding twosome right here. I'm just excited. And Lamar Miller had a great performance. But the Titans, unfortunately, the only points they scored were on Marcus Mariota's legs. And unfortunately, he had a hamstring injury. And he's going to be a game-time decision this week.
They better hope that the decision is that he plays, because they will not win without him.
Yep. He unfortunately, and guess who had to come in? Matt Castle.
And who did they sign to be Matt Castle's backup? Brandon Whedon, the former baseball prospect turned quarterback for Oklahoma State, turned first-round bust.
Castle had 3 turnovers, 2 picks, and a lost fumble. So that shows you, right, the difference between him and Marcus Mariota. So, yeah, if I'm a Titan fan, you better hope, you better pray that Marcus Mariota is 100% to be able to play this week, because I'm hearing he's a game-time decision. Now, this game right here really was insane. The first half was just phenomenal. Was phenomenal for Indianapolis.
Yeah, the Colts and the Seahawks. They had a really promising first half. In fact, I think they played well for about 2.5, almost 3 quarters. But then the Seahawks suddenly decided to play defense, and they just bottled up Jacoby Brissett and wound up getting away with a blowout victory.
He got sacked 3 times, and he got hit 12 times. That's an indictment on that offensive line, which has always been a problem with the Colts. Every year they've had this revolving door at the offensive line position, never finding a key stalwart to protect either him or any quarterback. That's why you have the mounting injuries that have taken place over the years. And then to combine 54 yards with Gore and Turbin, that's pitiful right there. That's also an indictment in the offensive line not creating holes. But this guy, J.D. McKissick, on his second carry of 30 yards for a touchdown, unbelievable. And Bobby Wagner scooping up the Marcus Smith forced fumble, 21 yards for a score. Seahawks win 46-18.
If there is a bright side for the Colts, Andrew Luck finally got allowed to not only work out with the team, but practice with the team as well. But this does lead to a question.
Will he play this week?
Well, that's actually the second question that I had. The first question is, once he returns, is it too late for the Colts?
Right now, they're 2-2, so they're at a critical juncture.
2-2 or 1-3?
They're at not 1-3. Sorry, they're at 1-3 this year. That's right. They're at a critical juncture right now, going to their game against San Francisco. I'll get into that in a bit. And as for Luck, I don't think they want to hurry him, especially from the offseason shoulder, surgery. They definitely want to ease him into the game. Now, the Eagles win 26-24 against the Chargers. LeGarrette Blount, 136 rushing yards, and Jake Elliott had 4 field goals, extending, his luck from last week. He's really had a good run so far for this Eagles team. So, and as for the Chargers, well, Kel Surprise. And the Saints go into
go into London and shut out the Dolphins
20-0.
And to think,
they had a touchdown possibly, Cutler, and he throws it into the end zone on the first drive.
Yep.
The first damn drive.
First drive. And what happens? Complete and utter disaster. It's good to see that Drew Brees is still doing his thing. I mean, the final score really did not show as much, but it goes to show you Brees can still try and win games all by his lonesome, even in spite of a paltry defense, except for this past weekend because they actually played some defense.
But the problem was, did you hear what happened? The communication issues with their helmets, they couldn't relay calls. In fact, what had to happen was the head coach had to tell Chase Daniel, the backup QB for Brees, and Daniels had to go on the field to relay the play. Like high school, old style type of play calling there.
Yep.
And then on Monday Night Football, the Chiefs defeat the Redskins 29-20. Harrison Bunker missed the first field goal attempt, but he gets the go-ahead 43-yarder with about 8 seconds left. And 3 field goals, in fact, in the second half as well. So it was a good performance for him. replacing Cairo Santos right now. And Alex Smith, 293 yards, 37-yard strike to Albert Wilson.